Well, we're in Spanish Fork Canyon.
Ah.
We came up here looking for the ever-elusive and hard-to-find, not that hard-to-find, train.
Well, I haven't seen one here, actually, in almost 2 years. Well, it's been 2 years, but I don't come this way anymore.
Well, but they do use this line a lot.
Yes.
But ever since it became part of the Union Pacific, it's kind of a parallel line to their main line. But this is still the definitive way to get coal in and out of Carbon County, Price, Helper, and the big coal mines up there, which aren't doing the kind of business that they once were before fracking kind of,
Well, that and there's several other things that caused it to dwindle over the years. But
market dynamics and other things.
Yes,
but,
Mother Nature.
Mother Nature flooding things up here in Thistle and a few things like that. But the interesting thing is that while it's a double track main, it isn't actually a double track main. One of those two tracks belongs to the Utah Railway, and that's kind of more interesting. That's what we're sort of looking for, is a Utah Railway train. Back when they built this line, the Denver and Rio Grande Western built their narrow gauge line through here, and then right alongside them built the Utah Railway, and they entered into agreements with the other railroad and so on. And one of the tracks has always belonged to Utah Railway, the other track belongs to Denver and Rio Grande, and they run it as double track. But it isn't really double track. One belongs to one belongs to the other. And while Rio Grande is part of Union Pacific, Utah Railway is still just Utah Railway. So it's interesting, and we're in search of Utah Railway trains. The original track in Spanish Fork Canyon was built by the Denver and Rio Grande Western as a narrow gauge line connecting Denver and Salt Lake City. These days it is, of course, part of the gigantic Union Pacific system. Originally, the Denver and Rio Grande Western competed with the Union Pacific as their tracks moved in a somewhat parallel direction. These days, it's principally a coal hauling line out of Carbon County. Karen grabbed this fun shot about 2.5 years ago on her way home to Sanpete County. This is the bypass that bypassed the flooded Thistle area. The eastern end of the canyon is here at the small town of Helper. This was originally a division point on the Denver and Rio Grande Western, and a wild railroad town. Well, there were a lot of small businesses here, but it was principally known for the sleazy bars that were full of railroaders. A lot of them had gambling rooms in back, and, other activities for the railroaders. Most of the crews would work their way east, ending up here, spending the night, and then taking another train back the following day. Okay, this is one of my jukeboxes. Yeah, I collect war-era jukeboxes. And this one's really cool. It came out of one of the bars here in Helper. How about that? These things are Rockolla jukeboxes. I had to get 2 of them to have enough parts to make the Helper one actually play. The crews don't spend the night here anymore. They work all the way through to Grand Junction, Colorado, generally speaking. And the city is trying to rebuild itself. With the train crews gone, there isn't anybody checking into the hotels anymore, and they're all boarded up and closed. For years there really wasn't much of anything going on here, but the town is sort of coming back to life now with antique stores and art galleries and coffee shops. And while the railroad crews no longer spend the night here, that doesn't mean that the railroad isn't still the 800-pound gorilla in the room. The UP main line down Echo and Weber Canyon is incredibly busy, and a lot of the bridge traffic is finding its way down this line. Not as much coal traffic as there used to be. Well, the coal industry is just kind of on its butt right now. This was the route of the California Zephyr, and it still is the Amtrak version of the train. A couple of our friends work on that. Mike Niederhauser is a locomotive engineer, and Adam Pinalis is a conductor. The yard offices here double as the train station. Union Pacific logos everywhere you look, overlaying the old Denver and Rio Grande. Here's a fun old piece of equipment, a Jordan spreader. You could use these things for all kinds of work on the line. Typically it would be used for plowing snow, but it was intended for spreading ballast, something it was really good at doing. And with these huge side plows, you could also use it to accidentally tear out switch stands. Okay, here's some massive screwing around we stumbled across. With helpers sort of coming back to life, somebody has decided to recreate a 1950s era gas station. Not at all sure who or why, but boy, we'd sure like to know more about this old Conoco station. This is a real trip. Somebody's really figured out screwing around here. Karen and I both remember when this is just how you took care of your car. You took it to a place like this. It makes me feel a little bit old. They've got all the stuff that you would normally find around a gas station in this era. They're fixing up the service bays, not sure what they're planning to have inside here. And next door, they're even fixing up the Western Auto Store. Okay, let's get back to what we came for, and that's finding the Utah Railway. Their shops and yard were here at Helper, although on their side of the highway they referred to the town as Martin. They started construction on this road in 1912, and it was operating by 1914. It was being run by the Denver and Rio Grande under an operating contract, and as the tracks really functioned as a double track, that generally worked out really well. But the owners of the railroad were unsatisfied with the service they were getting, and so withdrew from that deal in 1917 and started running the thing themselves, operating under an agreement with the Union Pacific to deliver things to their yard in Provo, Utah. We found this lovely no trespassing sign. We're really good at ignoring no trespassing signs, and so we wandered here into the Martin shops to see what was going on. It's a great old shop. The water tank is still in, needless to say, not being used anymore. Some fun little artifacts around here. It's actually a pretty darn busy little railroad, considering that they're really not hauling that much coal anymore. It was bought a few years ago by the Genesee and Wyoming Company. They run a bunch of different short lines around the country. And the orange and yellow paint job is strictly Genesee and Wyoming colors. Before that, the line always ran in red and gray. While the railroad is really busy, it sure wasn't busy while we were there. There were a few people milling around. None of them threw us off the property, which was nice, but it's a really beautiful spot tucked up against the Book Cliffs here in what they call Utah's Castle Country. The tracks continue east from Martin out to a mine loading area. It used to serve several mines out here. This is the Wildcat siding, the Wildcat loadout, and it just isn't really being used at all. In part because somebody decided to set fire to the railroad ties here on the Gordon Creek trestle, and that closed the line, and they haven't felt the need to spend money to get it reopened. The coal industry being what it is these days. The western terminus of the railroad is here in the Salt Lake Valley at a place called Midvale. One time there was a big steel mill here. They've got a decent-sized little yard where they interchange with the Union Pacific, and a Y, and a small engine facility. At any given time, there'll be 4 to 6 locomotives here. They've got Jeeps and SD locomotives, but they've recently decided to dump all of the SDs in favor of these little Jeeps. It's an incredibly busy little location. I imagine the Martin end is equally busy, but by the time we got there, it was pretty late in the day, and probably everybody'd just gone home. The railroad's new logo is kind of intriguing. It's got a beehive on it, which is the symbol of the state of Utah. And while it looks like it says UP, if you look closely, there's a little tiny dash making it UR for Utah Railway. Not sure what they mean to imply by that. While we were here, they were building up a rather large train down in the yard with 2 engines, and then they cut this little engine out and moved it through the Y and over toward the main. Looked like they were staging it to use as a helper engine to get that big train up the canyon. There's a couple of other things going on here. There's a railroad called Savage, and they have 2 locomotives and use this facility. And it's also the shops of the light rail system for the Utah Transit Authority. But I think that's a story for another day. Well, anyway, fun to see what's happening at Helper. Fun to kind of wander around the shop facilities over there at the Utah Railway.
The town is coming back in a way.
Well, Helper's always been, and it's like, well, it's actually becoming this kind of hip place, and there was even a Pilates studio.
A Pilates?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know either. You would have to ask the daughter.
I keep seeing yogurt and Pilates studios.
Yogurt?
I think it's yogurt, isn't it? Oh, yoga.
Yes.
Yoga.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's where you see somebody sitting in a really strange position and meditating.
Downward facing cat or something.
I do that when I do my Pilates because it's usually because I fell on the ice and I'm unconscious.
I make that sound periodically, Pilates. But beyond that, I don't understand Pilates.
I don't either.
I don't understand yoga.
Yeah. Oh, I understand eating. That's fun.
I like eating. I've for my whole life I've been on a seafood diet. Seafood, eat it.
Yes.
But beyond that, I don't.
We're not into Pilates.
Pilates. I do like yogurt.
Yes.
Just not yoga.
Yoga.
Yeah. We digress. Well, if you haven't been over to the channel, pop on over to the channel. You will find that there's about 190, maybe not quite that, but getting close to 190 movies over there. And if you are not a subscriber, you want to become a subscriber.
Yes.
Because 20-man television subscribers are the coolest people in the world. And you don't even have to ask them, they'll tell you.
Right.
Straight up. First part of the conversation. Hi, I'm a 20-man television subscriber. And if you're a subscriber, you want to share the movie. And if you're not a subscriber, you want to become a subscriber by clicking on the blue button, zoink, right there. Makes you a subscriber, makes you cool, and then you want to go share the movie with all of your friends.
Yeah, it's like traveling with us.
Exactly. Well, we're not sure how you found this movie on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring. And we will see you here again in 1 week with some more massive screwing around. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.